Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, thanks again for joining us for another edition of the EQ Video Tip. Before we jump in, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? We have a great show from Allison Meister who talks about how do we recover from work stress according to science. And let's face it, we're all stressed out. The mental demand for dealing with your job, dealing with your family, dealing with your friends is increasing day by day. And while employers have offered things like mental health benefits and virtual consultations and psychology and breaks, there's just so much time in a day that you can actually do to recover yourself. And it's important to understand the stress of actually recovering. Believe it or not, there's a paradox that comes in there. Because sometimes when we're really stressed, it induces more stress. What happens? We're stressed out, so we work harder, we take care of ourselves less, and then we become more stressed. We get less sleep, we don't eat well, and it becomes a vicious cycle. So when someone says to you, hey, just relax, it doesn't work that way. What can we do to fix this? And Allison's going to jump in and give us 4 great tips on how to overcome the paradox of recovery as well as how to recover from work stress. Let's jump in right now. Tip number 1, detach psychologically from your work. Now that sounds very easy because maybe you say, I go to a workout class right after work, but if your mind is solely focused on what happened at work, or replaying that meeting, or replaying what you have to do later on, or thinking about that new project, you're not actually detaching. So what can you do about it? Well, start doing a preferred activity, something like reading, or video games, or cooking, something that's going to allow you to disconnect completely from what you're doing so you can have more stress management. It's important to detach your mind so it just kind of thinks to itself and finds itself in a flow away from everything else so you can fully devote yourself to a non-work related activity. In doing so, you'll detach physically as well as psychologically from work, thereby enhancing your recovery. Tip number 2, harness the power of micro breaks during the day. All of us want to work 8 hours straight. Well, maybe we don't want to work that long, but we try to. Instead, make sure that every 60 to 90 minutes you're taking a break. One EVP actually said that what she does is every 90 minutes she sets a little alarm on her phone so that she gets up, walks around, maybe has a snack, takes a tour of the building, or if she's working at home, she makes sure she moves from her desk. Do something to have that micro break during the day that allows you to think more clearly and recharge, reset, refocus yourself as well. In doing so, you'll make sure that your busy schedule actually gets broken up through the day and gives you time to actually work smarter as well as recover from the stress that's out there. Tip number 3, consider your preference for recovery activity. Maybe you like to read books and that's the way you recover. I personally love to talk to people. That's part of my recovery. But if you love to read books and at lunch you end up talking to a bunch of people, it may stress you out more. So if your preferred recovery is just read a book and relax, or maybe it's listen to music, make sure you do that. If you prefer to maybe do a hobby like knitting or sewing or gardening, do that. Whatever it is, figure out what your preferred recovery is and your preference for it and use that for recovery, and make sure you protect that time as well as that hobby for yourself. Remember, everybody's hobbies and interests for recovery are going to be different, so make sure you figure out what is recharging you and rejuvenating you as well. That person who likes to read a book and just needs time to him or herself, sitting at a lunch with 20 different people may actually cause more stress as they have to populate in their mind all the different things and process what those people are saying. So instead, make sure you consider your preferences for your recovery activity. Our last tip, prioritize high-effort recovery activities. These are activities like going to the gym and doing a hard exercise class, or it might be learning a new language or learning to cook or something that you have to master a certain experience. In doing so, your mind, while it will be taken away from the work activity, it's actually going to rejuvenate itself by focusing on something else so that it can think about different ways to be creative. In doing so, by focusing your dedication, your time, your focus, you're giving your other part of the brain a chance to relax and not think about work. by putting these efforts together, you will have the resources you need to fully recover and rejuvenate over time as well. So make sure that you're taking time to figure out new skills and replenish your mind as you're going through the daily activity. In doing so, prioritize high effort recovery activities as well. That's a wrap for this week's EQ video tip. Hopefully these tips will help you in terms of recovering from stress. Remember, everybody recovers differently from stress, and if you focus on things that work preferably for you, you'll be able to recover more easily throughout your day. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.